Welcome back to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I am joined by a very special guest. She is a junior defenseman of the Colgate women's hockey team, Simpson. Welcome to the podcast, Allie, and how's everything going?
Thank you. It's going really well. Just down here in Frisco, just been training this summer. So super excited to be here.
That's awesome. And how's your off season going? And have you done anything interesting, whether it's hockey related or non-hockey related?
It's been great. Like everything COVID wise has been opened up down here. So it makes it really easy to train and just pretty free down here in the summer. I went to Florida for a couple weeks. I trained down there with Daryl Belfry, who works with the Maple Leafs a little bit. So it was kind of like hockey and vacation all put together, and went to the beach, which was really nice down in Naples. So my mom went with me and made a little girls trip out of it. So that was a lot of fun.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, no, I haven't had the chance to go down to Florida. The weather up here in the north has been pretty hot, but it hasn't been like Florida where it's like has that nice feel to it, if you know what I mean, because of the atmosphere. So I'm glad you
Oh
got
yeah.
that trip down to Florida. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks.
Now, hockey-wise, you were saying how you're training down there. How's training going for yourself, and what are you working on regarding your game for this upcoming season?
Yeah, so this summer I've really been focused on like my speed. That's always been something that I've continued to work on, and in the weight room for sure. And then just being more smooth on the ice as well, like getting lower to the ground and having that good shin angle, so you can move a lot better. And then I've also like my movement and in the offensive zone, like making sure I'm in the right spots and just staying moving, and so I can get in a better position to receive the puck and create some more offensive opportunities that way, and just get my feet moving on the offensive zone blue line. And then I always just work on my shot and puck movement and passing as much as possible.
Yeah, is that one area of your game you're hoping to improve on the most heading into next season, or is there another part of your game you're trying to improve on, or is it just always trying to work on your speed, your shot, and your quickness in the blue line?
Yeah, so I think for the most part, it was just the speed was my focus this summer, and I think I've done a pretty good job of just practicing that and getting better at that, and then always just continuing to work on my strengths as well, just to make everything a little bit better.
Now, like you said, you haven't really faced any challenges compared to last year because things have been more open where you're from in Texas. So, has that changed your approach at all during the off season, knowing that you have more time to go in the gym or have more ice time as well?
Yeah, last summer was definitely challenging because there was so much uncertainty with like how much of a season we'd get to play and who we'd get to play and how often and everything because of COVID. So it was hard to because you didn't really know what you were training for. So I found it much easier to train this summer, and just more motivating because you know like what you're walking into when you go back up to school. And I'm just really excited for what this season's going to bring and how everything's going to shake out, especially because we have so many more teams that are able to play this season in the ECAC. So I'm really excited about all of that.
Yeah, what are you looking forward to the most for this upcoming season? I feel like as a junior, you've kind of experienced a lot being in the ECAC, playing all those teams, and also winning the championship this past year. So, what's something you're looking forward to the most for this upcoming year?
I have a lot of friends, like because I went to Shattuck, I have a lot of friends that play on different teams in the ECAC. So it's always cool to be able to play those teams and you know like give your friend a little tap on the shin pads as you skate past them, and just getting to see all those girls again, which is great. And then I'm just excited for the competition. You know, it was fun getting to play close to a full season last year, but we played the same three teams over and over again, so it got a little repetitive. And but so I'm just excited for the change up and getting to play all those different teams.
Yeah, and I was looking at your schedule from last year, and you played Clarkson, I think, 10 times. So it seems
Yeah.
hard. How do you prepare for a team like that after playing them for like 8 times already?
It's a little interesting because you almost want to change your game up a little bit because they know you so well, and they don't even like every week you play them. So you don't even need to do that much of a pre-scout for it, which is interesting. because you're normally preparing for a team that you don't see that often. So you definitely got to know the players a little bit more, and I think it created more of like a rivalry between us because it was the same team, and we were getting to know the girls so much better just playing against them. So
Yeah, and how was the Ivy League's absence from the last year in the ECAC? How did that affect your team's overall approach for the ECAC heading into last year, and how did it like affect just your mindset on the season as well?
well, we were just lucky that we got to play. I mean, we kind of, as a team, talked about like treating every game and every practice like it was your last because nothing was for certain. So I think it was kind of like shook the ECAC when the Ivies couldn't play. For sure, like it changed up the whole dynamic, and you weren't having to prepare for as many teams. So that was interesting, and we'll definitely looking forward to having all those teams back this year. So.
Now let's start off talking about the beginning of your hockey career and work all the way up to where you are now with Colgate. So you're from Frisco, Texas. How'd you start playing hockey, and what's it like growing up down there and being a hockey player?
It's really funny because I like when I get asked this question, I get asked it a lot because everyone's always so confused, like, "Oh, you're from Texas and you play hockey? Like, how did that work out?" So it's kind of a long story, but my dad, he played professional golf on the tour for a few years. And so he was the golf pro at a course in Fort Worth that a bunch of the Dallas Stars players would go, and they'd open the course up for them on Mondays. And so a bunch of the Stars players would go up there, like Dean Evison and Darcy Wakaluk and Mike Madonna, Dave Gagne, like players like that. And so my dad would go play golf with them for the day. And then they would always give my parents tickets to go to the Stars games. So my parents fell in love with hockey, and they never played. So it was kind of a new thing for them. And then I have an older brother. His name's Connor. He's 2.5 years older. Who he plays club hockey at Texas A&M. So he started playing before then, and I started out as a figure skater because my brother was at the rink and I was just running around. And I like vowed never to play hockey. And my brother's coach would always ask, like, "Oh, like if you're so good at skating, like you would play hockey." And I always would, stick my tongue out at him and be like, "No way." But then, so we lived down in San Antonio when my brother was young and was playing, and then we moved up to Dallas, like the Frisco area. And woke up one day and said that I wanted to play hockey, and my parents were shocked, and but they let me try out for a travel team down here, and they didn't think I would make it because I hadn't ever like really held a stick before. But I ended up making the team, and it's kind of how I got into it, and then just played boys travel hockey down here um, for a while, and then ended up going to Shattuck in 8th grade. So
Yeah, and I'm curious, who was your favorite player growing up? Was it someone on the Stars like Madonna? I know Marty Turco was on those Stars teams as well. He was fun to watch.
yes, he was. I mean, it was always hard for me. Like I always struggled with this growing up because I didn't have the exposure to like female ice hockey, and seeing those like great female players who started early on, and so I didn't have that same exposure that a lot of the girls do nowadays. So it was always hard for me. And then I also like it was hard for me to kind of find my favorite male player because they weren't the same as me. Like they didn't look like me. So it was hard for me to find someone and be like, "Oh, I want to be just like you." So I don't know that I ever really had just one, but I liked watching like really good hockey players. So
Now, talk about the Texas hockey scene and what's it like being a player in that hockey atmosphere? Because I feel like it's growing because I know players like Seth Jones, he's from Texas, and a goaltender from UConn, Ryan Keene, he's also from Texas as well. So it seems like there's more hockey players coming from Texas and playing D1. So just talk about what it's like being a player in that Texas hockey scene.
yeah, absolutely. So when I first started playing, it was kind of lonely because there were maybe a few boys that played hockey at my school, and it's definitely bigger down here in Dallas than most people give credit to. And I think when the Stars came here, they did a really good job creating that that youth program, those youth programs, and building rinks, and doing all that to kind of push the game and make it bigger for that. So in elementary school, like I said, I just played with a few. There were a few boys at my school that played, and then when I was in middle school, like sixth and seventh grade, I went to school for like half the day, and so I trained with two boys on the ice like every afternoon, and it was great. And then outside of school, everyone thought like that it was cool that I was a girl and that I played hockey and all that. And there was some great coaches that I got to work with as well. Like I worked with a coach named Ty Hinnis, who went on to coach the Penguins. He was like their skating coach for a little while. And then I also work with Luke Chilcott now, who worked with the Sharks for a little bit. And then I had a female coach, Karen Rickard, who played D1 for Wisconsin and is now coaching in Colorado. But so I think there's more down here than a lot of people give credit to. So I had fun growing up down here and playing with the boys. So.
Now, how did you get the opportunity to go down to Shattuck and play with that school?
So I played in a boys tournament and we played at Shattuck. So that was fun. So I got to go down there and see it. And then how I got in touch with Gordy Stafford, who's the head coach of the prep team down at Shattuck. I went to a showcase it was like a showcase or a camp in Rochester, New York. And Coach Stafford gave me his business card at camp, and I didn't really know who he was and how big of a deal Shattuck was and all of that. So I just was like casually handed it to my mom, and she was like, okay, cool. And we kind of looked into it a little bit more and asked around like other hockey parents. And like at that time, there was a lot of more information on like going to prep school and how that whole thing worked. And there was like info sessions and stuff at camps that you would always hear about and whatever. So I looked into that, and then just kept in contact with Coach Stafford and their like recruiting kind of, down there. So that was just, he saw me at a showcase and gave me his card. So that was pretty much it.
And how did you adjust being far away from home, living at Shattuck? Because I know talking to some players that used to play there, they said it's kind of like a dorm situation, or you like live with like a family
Yeah.
near the school. So what was it like kind of being far away from home, and how did you adjust to that at such a young age?
Well, from the first time I got there, I remember my 8th grade year, my first year, I didn't call my parents for like the first week. I was like had so much freedom, and I was like, I don't even know what to do with myself. Like I don't have someone tell me what to do 24/7. But I was quickly kind of turned that around because I got homesick and kind of recovered from my little rebellion of not calling them for a week and everything. So it was definitely hard to adjust to being alone, and you don't have like your parents waking you up in the morning, and you just have your roommates and all the people that live in the dorms around you, and there's a lot more responsibility, but also the independence that you gain and kind of like you have to grow up a little bit quicker than everybody else. So that part was interesting. And I just remember we practiced at like really early in the morning. It was like 6 or it was like 7, but you could get to the rink like a little bit early. So I would get there like 6 or 6:30, around there. And so you had to make sure that you like set your alarm and you got up, and there was a bus that would take you from the girls' dorms to the rink. And so you had to make sure that you got on the bus, or you were sprinting to the rink if you missed that bus because you didn't want to be late for practice. So there were a couple close calls there, but other than that, I think I handled it pretty well. So.
And obviously, what's it like going to that school and being a part of that historical program? Just reading the alumni that went to Shattuck. On the men's side, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, and then on the women's side with Amanda Kessel, the Lamoureux twins and Brianna Decker. Like, do you feel any pressure trying to continue that legacy when you're at that school?
There's definitely a lot of pressure. Like, all these greats that have come before you who created like what Shattuck is today essentially and built that foundation for everyone. So I think that it was just really, really important that you make the most of every opportunity because how much other people have put into it. And I think Shattuck is very conducive for like putting your best foot forward and allowing you the opportunity to grow into the player that you want to be. And you definitely have to push yourself to be that player that you're aspiring to be. And I think it's just really important that you understand like how those people that have come before you and their history, and just making sure you carry on that legacy. So.
Now, you got to play with some incredible players from your time at Shattuck. You played with Hannah Bilka, who's currently at Boston College, and you also played with McKenna Webster as well. What's it like getting to play with those players, and how does that help your hockey development when you're heading into college?
That's another great thing about Shattuck is that everyone that was there you would push you in different ways, and it just the opportunity to be surrounded by those great players and to practice with them every day, and playing with them and learning from them, and those little conversations that you have on the bench, like, oh, what can we do better, like what are we needing to do to beat this team. Just having those interactions with players like that are like next level was just great for me. I think I learned so much from all of my teammates and definitely my coaches. So it was just a lot of fun, and there was a lot of compete in everything that we did. So it just pushed you to be that much better.
Now, how did your time at Shattuck help prepare you for college hockey with Colgate?
Um, so you just know that like all the players are good. So like at Shattuck, definitely your teammates push you all the time, and you would get everyone's best game, and you're surrounded by players who work their hardest every day. And like if you're not going to do the extra work, then someone else is. So I think all those things carry over into college. Like you get to college and maybe you're used to being like the top dog of your high school, and then you get there and all the players are good, and all the teams you play, you get everyone's best game because there aren't as many in college as you normally play in high school. And you're definitely surrounded by all those players who want to make the most of every opportunity that they get. And you got to make sure you put in that extra work because if you're not going to, someone else is. So
Now, what's the best memory you've ever had at Shattuck? It could be either on the ice or off the ice as well.
there's so many. Just being around your best friends all the time, and having you would have like a sleepover every night essentially. But what stands out to me the most is my eighth grade year was my first time playing in the national championship, and we were down the whole game, and then going into the third period, we ended up coming back and we won. And just the best feeling to like throw your gloves off and see them all scattered over the ice, and all of that. And then just the mundane things too, like being on campus. There's a big field in front of the school, it's called the parade field, and so you're just out there all the time in the spring with your buddies, like playing soccer and spike ball, and like throwing the frisbee and the football, and just stuff like that is what really sticks out to me.
Yeah, no, it looks kind of like a movie scene when you go around that campus. I've never been there before, but just the field, like you were mentioning, outside in the front of the school, it's like pretty crazy. It looks like I said, almost like a movie.
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
Now, you also played for Team USA in the U18 World Championships. What was it like getting the opportunity to represent your country in those tournaments?
Yeah, so I was in I played 2 years of U18s. The first time I played with the team, we went to the Czech Republic, and my first year was really exciting because I didn't think that I was in the running to make the U18 team that would travel to the Czech Republic. So there were two like camps in the summer. So there was the national camp, and then there was the top 66 camp. And I hadn't gotten invited to the top 66 camp, which is where they like took most of the players from. So I hadn't gone to that camp, so I figured like, oh, like I'm out of the running for this one, maybe next year. And then I ended up getting a call in like December or something saying, oh, like you made the U18 team. And I just remember like the pure joy that you feel when you like figure out that you're going to be able to represent your country. And it was always a dream of mine. And going to all the USA hockey camps and stuff, they would always have you write down what your goals were and for the long and short term and stuff like that. And my goal was always to make the national team. And so I felt that I had finally made it. And then it was just so exciting and so much fun to be able to travel and to represent the US. And it was a great time.
Yeah, what's the Czech Republic like? Because I think that's not a spot that many people like go on vacation to. So what's it like being there, representing your country? Well, did you get to do anything fun when you were down there? Whether it was off the ice, I guess.
Yeah, it was good. The Oh my gosh, I can't, feels like it was so long ago. It was great. The people there were really nice, and not many people spoke English, so we normally stayed like within our group, like we would travel together. We only had like one off day, I think, and a bunch of people went to into Prague, which was I think a couple hour train ride, I believe, which I didn't get to go there, but people said it was really cool. And then I can't remember what the name of the town was that we went to, but it was really pretty, like cobblestone streets, and getting to walk on that and the little shops. And there was this like dessert. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like almost like fried dough, I guess. And it was put in like a cone shape, and it had powder or like cinnamon and sugar on it. And I just remember it being really good. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, that's awesome. And was that the first time you ever went to Europe, or did you go there before, maybe like a couple years ago?
Yeah, I had actually gone to Finland, Iceland, and Sweden with the selects that Kathy Pippi runs, actually. So it was cool to be able to visit all those European countries and kind of see the differences and travel. And at such a young age, that was really exciting, and it was something that I only could have done through hockey, so it made it even better.
Now, is the style of play in Europe a little bit different in hockey compared to the US when you play teams like the Czech Republic or Russia?
Yeah, so I mean, all the teams are great. They always put their best players on those teams, and Russia was really physical to play against. Like I remember, they would just always take the body, and I remember them being very like structured in how they play and everything. And the Czech Republic too. Um, I actually have a couple friends who play with the Czech national team. Like Nemo is on the World Championship team, playing up in Calgary right now, and she's a really great player and is a ton of fun to play with, and has a lot of creativity and can shoot the puck really well. So I think they all have great aspects like that, and are just really fun to play against.
Now, you won two gold medals in those tournaments. What do those medals mean to you? And just talk about what you learned during those tournaments when you were playing in them.
Yeah, so the medals for me are kind of like a reminder of both how far I've come and that I've gotten to accomplish that, and the teamwork that went into doing that, and then also like how much I still have to learn and to keep striving for, like as I try and pursue going to the Olympics and in the future. So I just remembering that I was young, and everything gets faster and is more intense. And I think that was kind of like playing U18s was kind of the next step for me, and advancing my game a little bit in the way I think. And you couldn't just go out there and play because you were good, and you'd learn to play differently against different teams, and um, stuff like that. So I think that that's really important.
Where do you keep those medals now?
Um, they're hanging in my room right now, like on my mirror, so I look at them a lot.
That's awesome. Do you ever try them on, like, occasionally? I feel like I don't know, for myself, I wouldn't wanna try them on, but I feel like you might have to sometimes just to bring back some good memories, especially last year during the quarantine period.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just like to look at them. I don't really ever put them on.
Well, it's at least you have them, though. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty awesome that to have that experience at such a young age. Does that, like, I guess, thinking back on it, does that, like, help you heading into college, just playing against all those different teams and styles of play, like you were mentioning, and those tournaments, just because each country has like a different style of like how they go about like their systems and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so growing up in the US and playing at Shattuck, we didn't play that many like teams from other countries or have players that a ton of players that played in other countries and grew up in other countries. So I think it was cool to be able to have exposure to that for the first time and to see how big the game is, I guess, in a sense. So yeah.
Now, talk about your recruitment process. Take me back to what that was like for yourself, and what made you want to go to Colgate versus other schools you might have looked at during your recruitment process.
Yeah, I recruiting always just really scared me. Like I hated talking to college coaches and talking on the phone to them and it was I remember like practicing with my parents before calls and having little cheat sheets that I would draw on from to talk about little things and all that. But um Colgate just really stood out to me in a way that none of the other schools did. Like I visited a bunch of East Coast schools and some in the Midwest as well, but none of them like really were calling my name. Like I liked all the other campuses and all of that, but none of them I loved. And until I got to Colgate and I just stepped on campus and immediately something was different. And the coaches were really great, and I think I chose Colgate because it'll give me what it is giving me and will continue to give me like the greatest opportunity to grow as a player. Coach Fargo is great, and Steph and Chelsea as well. They all are really still students of the game, and they try and push that on us as well. And just they know that the game is fluid and is changing, and they want to push the boundaries on that as much as possible. So I think that they are great role models and for us to continue to keep growing.
Yeah, what's it like to play under Coach Greg Fargo, and what have you learned under him so far in your time at Colgate? Because in my opinion, I think he's one of the best head coaches in women's hockey.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's a great coach. I think what's really important too is that his coaching philosophy kind of starts with like our culture and making sure our culture is the foundation of everything that we do, and it serves uh, as our like first building block to how we play as a team. Like if you're not connected on the ice, it doesn't matter what systems you play and all of that. You need to be able to rely on each other. And again, he's just always taking steps and studying our games and working with us to ensure that we push the boundaries of how we can play and how we talk about like it's like a hashtag we play free. So that's another really important thing. And on our calls, we always talk about how important that is as a team and as a foundation to allow us to play individually as well as collectively in a way. So just playing how like your game and playing to your strengths within how we play as a team. So and not being afraid to make mistakes. And I think that that's also really important. um, how he's done really great things. So.
And what was the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey? Was it kind of the speed of the game, or was it the skill set of the game, making quicker decisions with the puck, or was it just the physicality since you're going against players that are 3 and 4 years older than you were, especially when you were a freshman?
Yeah, well, I think it's a little bit of all of that. It was definitely faster and more taxing, and it was always interesting to me as a youth player, like like looking at the girls and saying, oh, you only play like 2 games in a weekend. I'm playing like 4 or 5 games in a weekend, depending on, how long. So when I got to college, I was definitely noticed how much more taxing the games were, and everyone is bigger and faster and stronger, and you definitely have to make decisions quicker. There's way less time and space, and you kind of have to learn how to play within that, while still, you know, playing playing the way that you were recruited to play. So
Now, in your first year at Colgate, you lost to Clarkson in the ECAC playoffs. What did you take away from the playoff experience, even though you lost, and how did you use that playoff series loss heading into your sophomore and junior season now?
yeah, so that was definitely a tough loss, and it was my first experience in like playoffs like that. Because when you play, like at Shattuck, we would go to the national tournament, which was like a week long thing, and instead you're playing like week to week in college. So that change was a little bit different, and um, the game against Clarkson was just, I remember it just being really tough, and it felt like we could never really get our feet where we wanted them, and I think that we were a very young team my freshman year, and we had a lot to learn. So I think just having that experience of being in that high pressure situation and still being able to come out on top, um, was something that we needed to work on, and I think that we made a lot of strides with that this year, and it definitely gave us a lot of motivation in all our games against Clarkson, our 10 games against Clarkson, it made it fun to play them and try and beat them again. So
Now, from your experience, how is playoff hockey different from regular season hockey, especially in the ECAC?
the margins are a lot smaller. Like there's a lot less room for error. So, everything counts, and it's just much more intense, but it's also exciting. It's exciting to go to the rink and play your best hockey. And so I think that just in that sense, it's a lot different.
Now, in that same year, your freshman year, you got to play in the Nutmeg Classic. What was that experience like for you, getting the chance to play against opponents that you normally don't play during a normal regular season?
Yeah, it was very exciting, to play different teams, especially like now realizing that you got to play so many different teams was very exciting. And there's definitely a lot more work that goes into like the pre-scout, I would say. So like you have to pay more attention to like which players are better, and who do you have to watch out for on the power play, and like what kind of systems do they run, and how can we best play against that. um, so I think just that aspect was really important, and then kind of just trusting that all the work that you've done and they don't really is was important, and then also like they don't know how you play exactly either, so using that to your advantage and exploiting their weaknesses and stuff like that. So
Now, like we were talking about earlier, there was a lot of challenges that were brought because of the pandemic, especially in this past year's college hockey season. One of those challenges was the amount of schedule change that happened to your schedule. How'd you mentally deal with all those changes and postponements that happened to your schedule, and what was the key for maintaining flexibility for this past season?
yeah, I mean, it was definitely tough, and as I mentioned before, it was like our team's mentality that like every game, every practice, every lift, it could be your last. Like you could get COVID and be out for 2 weeks, and then you never know how much that's going to set you back. So it was exciting, in a way, but also terrifying in another sense too. Like you never know, what could be your last game, and so I think it was just making the most of every moment, and knowing that it was going to be all right no matter what happened, and relying on my teammates was also really important because we couldn't see our families, and they couldn't come visit us up at school. So that part made it really challenging, and um, so you really had to rely on your teammates for that support when you needed it, and just having a good attitude about it, I think, is also really important. Like being happy that you get to play, I mean, at all in such turbulent times. So,
Yeah, and how'd you deal with not playing in front of any fans this past year, especially for your team? Because your arena is so huge, I feel like it would be so odd to play without any fans just because of all the echoing that might happen in that rink.
yes, it was a little bit different. I mean, we don't have like the biggest crowd ever, during our games, but it was a little big, to have no fans. They actually had put like cardboard cutouts of our families and stuff. So I had my whole family up there, like my mom, my dad, my brother, my papa was up there, my dog, you know. Um, so it was fun that they did that for us, and but it was definitely a lot quieter. So it'll be interesting to see how different it is this year when we get to actually allow fans to come into the games. So.
Did those cardboard cutouts make any difference? Because I know some players said it did kind of make a difference because it made the arena feel less emptier. However, some players said they didn't even notice them at all. What was your opinion on that?
Um, I'm really close with my family, so I know that they're always watching like the games because they were streamed and all of that, and they on ESPN Plus and stuff. So my family was always watching, but it was cool to like have that reminder there that they are watching and they're there. I think it does make a difference too. Like when you're on the ice, it there's less like empty space up there to look at. So.
Now, something that was introduced to college hockey this past season was 3-on-3 overtime. As a fan, they're very fun to watch, but as a player, what's it like to be a part of them, especially as a defenseman, to have more space in the ice to create offensive opportunities for your teammates in those overtime situations?
Yeah, I think I like 3-on-3. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a lot about possession and knowing the right time to change and when you can use your speed and exploit maybe like the other team gets stuck in their zone and they can't get a change. So I think that it's really important to use your speed when you have that much space, and especially with our team, we're a really fast team. So I think that's something that it plays to our strengths, and we know how to move the puck well and get speed under the puck. And um, I think it's fun. I like having that much room and having. It's important to have the poise to use the space that you have. Like you have all that time and space, you might as well use it, kind of thing. And then just making sure that you change in the right spots and keeping possession is super important. But I think it's a lot of fun.
And do you have to be a little more defensively aware or defensively minded in those situations just because if you make one little defensive mistake, it can cause an odd man rush for the opponent?
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely it's a there's more thinking to it for sure. Like you can't just go out there, balls to the walls and everything, but you got to be smart about it. So.
Now, what was your team's mindset heading into the ECAC playoffs this year, especially since the playoffs were a little bit shortened? There weren't the series like there normally is in the ECAC. So, what was your team's mindset heading into the playoffs after having a very good regular season?
Yeah, we were really excited, and I think we kind of went in with a chip on our shoulder, like we have something to prove here. Like we've done so well this year, we might as well finish strong. And I think that again, just going all out because it's the end and you never know what's going to happen. So I think all of that was good.
Now, in the ECAC playoffs, you beat Quinnipiac, who's a very good opponent. And then you also beat St. Lawrence, who's another great opponent. Talk about those games and the challenges those opponents bring.
Yeah, I mean, with both of those teams, you're going to get a tough game. When we played St. Lawrence, the whole year their goaltending was really strong, and they're a strong competitor. And then with Quinnipiac, they're strong on the puck, and they're definitely a little more physical, and they're definitely fun to play against as well. And you have to bear down against them and play the body a little bit more. And it's definitely super exciting to be in that situation because we were the first team in our program history to accomplish and win the ECAC championship. So and because of all the uncertainty with everything last year, it just made it that much more fun and that much more rewarding.
Yeah, did it help playing Quinnipiac the week before the playoff game happened, just because you kind of got to know some of their tendencies before the series happened, or before the game?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It was, like the pre-scout's super important in those playoff games, and making sure you know all the little details and where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. So definitely getting that experience playing them right before helped for sure.
Now, what emotions were going through your head after winning the ECAC championship for the first time, and just talk about lifting the trophy up and that whole excitement on getting to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great time. The game was so fun to play, and just being able to say that you were on that team that did something new and something for the first time. And Colgate's come such a long way in a short amount of time as far as being in the rankings and all of that, and just being able to share that experience with your teammates. It's so fun, and it just fills your heart up. And how much work everyone's put in all year, and just to see it all come to fruition is so exciting. And after the game, we had like an opportunity to like hang out with each other in the trophy, and take pictures and all that kind of stuff. And they have like lights coming down, and so we were all just having a great time on the ice together. So
That's awesome. And then you went on to play in the national tournament against Minnesota Duluth. Just talk about what it was like being a player in the national tournament and just the atmosphere you got to experience, especially since there were finally fans allowed at that game for the first time in Colgate. Like first game you played that season, there was actually fans there. I think it was like 25% capacity. It seemed like there
yeah.
wasn't that many fans though watching it from TV. So did you kind of feel that atmosphere though, regardless of since they were kind of far up in that stadium?
Yeah, the stadium was really big. I just remember being so excited because first of all, you're in the national tournament, and it was the first game my parents actually came to see in person. So I was just excited that they got to be there. And even though there was just a couple of them, you just know that they're there and you can see them, and you can see them cheering for you and making all kinds of noise to try and fill that empty space. And it was it was just fun to be there. And definitely the loss was hard, and you go over every mistake in your head, and all those missed scoring chances, and oh, maybe I could have done this, or maybe I could have done that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and you just got to learn from all those mistakes, and work on them, and work on where your deficiencies are as a team, and try and do better next time. So
Yeah, you unfortunately lost that game, like you just said. It was a very defensive game, though, with two great goaltending performances, especially by your goaltender, Kaylee Osborne. What was going
yeah.
through your head when Duluth scored that goal, knowing that your season's over, especially after a hard-fought defensive battle of a game?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely tough. Like, I just, you're upset that you lost that, and there's, I mean, nothing you could do at that point. And it was definitely defeating, but also it kind of gives you that fire to go out and do better next season, and all of that. So
Now, what's Kaylee Osborne like as a teammate, both on and off the ice? Because she was the one player that really stood out to me from your team this past season, just because she really took on that starting goaltending role as a freshman.
yeah, I mean, she had that. Um, I think she had a good chip on her shoulder for being the starting goaltender, and she's a lot of fun to be around, and she has a really big personality, and she brings a lot to the table, and isn't afraid to speak her mind and be herself. So she's a lot of fun to be around, and she's a great teammate too.
Now, what are your goals and expectations for next season with Colgate?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of new players this year, so we'll be a young team again. But I'm excited to welcome everyone into the fold, and kind of continue to build on our culture, and create that legacy that's going to be great. And um, I'm super excited to be able to play all those teams that we didn't get to play last year. We're definitely aiming to win the national championship this year, and I think we have a really good shot at doing it. And we have a little bit more experience under our belt. Those of us that were sophomores last year, um, and even the juniors too. So I think it'll be a lot of fun this year.
Now, obviously, being an upperclassman, what type of leadership do you hope to bring to the team next year with all those new players that are going to be there?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just being an ear for them, like, and talking to them and making sure if they have any questions or any concerns that you help them with that, and address any of those issues that need to be addressed. And I just think being able to answer their questions and being a shoulder to lean on when they need it, or that extra kick in the butt, I think that can be all make all the difference.
So we're now in the non-hockey segment. We're asking some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit off the ice. My first non-hockey question to you is, what music do you like to listen to, whether it's before a game or just in a general basis?
Before the game, I like to listen to like rap, or I also listen to EDM, and the big booty mixes are really, really good too.
Mhm.
Anything like upbeat or high tempo kind of gets me going. Like, and then for rap, it's like anyone like Young Thug or DaBaby and people like that. So I don't know. I listen to a wide range of music, I guess, before games. But and then non-hockey related, I'm from Texas, so I'm a big country fan too. So
Yeah, I was working for a baseball team this past summer, and a lot of our players were from the South and from California as well. So country music was always blaring. So it was my first kind of taste of hearing that music more often than I normally do. And there's some pretty good songs. So I hope to get
oh
into it
yeah,
a bit more this fall.
definitely.
Now, what is your biggest pet peeve?
It kind of depends on the day. Probably biggest of all, I'm not a very patient person, so if like I have to repeat myself a bunch of times, that kind of fires me up a little bit.
No, I'm the same way, but it's more for driving. Like when someone's like taking forever to drive on the road, it bothers me a little bit just because I need to get somewhere at a certain time, and I feel like it's kind of a waste of time personally for me.
Definitely, definitely. I feel that too, for sure.
Now, being from Texas, what's your favorite outdoor activity?
So when I'm at home, I live like by a lake. It's like few minutes up the road, and I like to paddleboard over there. And my mom and I also take walks with our dog Gino over there too, which is a lot of fun. And then we go down to my papa's. My papa has a ranch that's like 2.5 hours from here, and so down there we ride four-wheelers and shoot guns, and I'll do all that kind of stuff. So that's a lot of fun as well.
That does sound fun. I've never driven a four wheeler. I would really want to do that sometime.
Oh, it's a blast.
Is it hard to learn how to drive it, or is it once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy?
Once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. I mean, it also depends on what you're driving, but I mean, for the most part, it's really easy.
Now, who has the best style on the Colgate women's hockey team besides yourself? Obviously, that's the obvious answer. But if there's someone else that would get that title, who would it be?
Oh, obviously, yeah. So I mean, I don't want to like pump the Canadians' tires right now, but Rosie Demers or Dax, Danielle Serdachny or Malia Schneider, I would say they all have really good style, but don't tell them I said that.
Now, who's the funniest on the team?
Um, we have a lot of characters. Kaylee is definitely funny, and Rosie's really funny too, and I don't know, just those two. Taylor Kerwin is really funny too. She cracks everybody up all the time. Um, yeah, it's a fun vibe in the locker room for sure.
Now, back to some hockey questions. Now, my first question to you is, what do you think should be done to help grow women's hockey, in your opinion?
Um, I think just having more exposure to it. Like I talked about earlier, how like growing up I didn't have that exposure to women's hockey that much, so I didn't know who to look up to. Like, am I supposed to look at the NHL guys when I'm probably not going to make it to the NHL, or who do I look up to, kind of thing. So just having um, more connections with like grassroots, and being able um, to like give back and share those experiences with younger girls who may not have had the same access to women's hockey um, and stuff like that. So
Have you tried to be a role model for young hockey players in Texas, especially women's hockey players? Because I feel like a player like yourself, if I was from Texas, I'll definitely try to look up to you just because of all the stuff you accomplished throughout your hockey career so far.
yeah, no, I love to ask. I see little girls around the rink a little bit. So just talk to them and make sure that they know that hockey's super fun and, you should keep doing it if you love it and all that. And I also work with the Stars have summer camps in the summer. So I worked a couple of those and there's always a few little girls running around and doing all of that. So I try and connect with them as much as I can. So,
Now, what advice would you give those younger players who are trying to pursue a career in Division One college hockey?
to just to stick with it and really to work hard if you love it. I think it's really important that if you're going to do something, you do it well, and so to keep pushing themselves to be the best that they can be, and there's always someone there to support you, and so yeah.
Or do you have any shout outs you'd like to give to any of your former teammates, family members, friends, or current teammates with Colgate? I mentioned some of them throughout the podcast, but if there's anyone I forgot to mention, feel free to shout them out now.
Oh yeah, I mean, mom and dad first and foremost. I have to give a shout out to, and my coaches at Shattuck were great, and so Coach Stafford and Coach Boyk and Coach Johnson and all of them, and then at Colgate, Args and Chelsea staff are great, and then I don't know, just all my Colgate teammates. They're amazing. So I'm so happy to be a part of that program and to continue to watch it grow.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Allie. I really appreciate your time. It means a lot to me. I wish you all the best for this upcoming season. I can't wait to see you play, hopefully in person, for this upcoming season as well. Take care, stay safe, and I just want to let you know that you're one of my favorite college hockey players to watch. So it was an honor getting the chance to interview you today.
Thank you so much. I had a great time and I'm glad we got to chat a little bit.
Now,